March 26 readings. Justin Martyr Dialogue with Trypho, chapters 16 to 17. A call to inner circumcision. And God himself proclaimed by Moses, speaking thus, and circumcise the hardness of your hearts, and no longer stiffen the neck. For the Lord your God is both Lord of lords, and a great, mighty, and terrible God, who regardeth not persons, and taketh not rewards. And in Leviticus, because they have transgressed against me, and despised me, and because they have walked contrary to me, I also walked contrary to them, and I shall cut them off in the land of their enemies. Then shall their uncircumcised heart be turned. Circumcision is a sign of separation. For the circumcision according to the flesh, which is from Abraham, was given for a sign, that you may be separated from other nations, and from us, and that you alone may suffer that which you now justly suffer, and that your land may be desolate, and your cities burned with fire, and that strangers may eat your fruit in your presence, and not one of you may go up to Jerusalem. For you are not recognized among the rest of men by any other mark than your fleshly circumcision. Judgment is just and foreknown. For none of you, I suppose, will venture to say that God neither did nor does foresee the events which are future, nor foreordain his deserts for each one. Accordingly, these things have happened to you in fairness and justice, for you have slain the just one, and his prophets before him, and now you reject those who hope in him, and in him who sent him, God the Almighty and Maker of all things, cursing in your synagogues those that believe on Christ. For you have not the power to lay hands upon us, on account of those who now have the mastery. But as often as you could, you did so. The righteous one rejected. Wherefore God, by Isaiah, calls to you, saying, Behold how the righteous man perished, and no one regards it. For the righteous man is taken away from before iniquity. His grave shall be in peace, he is taken away from the midst. Draw near hither, ye lawless children, seed of the adulterers, and children of the whore. Against whom have you sported yourselves, and against whom have you opened the mouth, and against whom have you loosened the tongue? The Jews spread slander against Christians. For other nations have not inflicted on us and on Christ this wrong to such an extent as you have, who in very deed are the authors of the wicked prejudice against the just one, and us who hold by him. For after that you had crucified him, the only blameless and righteous man, through whose stripes those who approach the Father by him are healed, when you knew that he had risen from the dead and ascended to heaven, as the prophets foretold he would, you not only did not repent of the wickedness which you had committed, but at that time you selected and sent out from Jerusalem chosen men through all the land to tell that the godless heresy of the Christians had sprung up, and to publish those things which all they who knew us not speak against us. Prophetic warnings against injustice. So that you are the cause not only of your own unrighteousness, but in fact of that of all other men. And Isaiah cries justly, by reason of you, my name is blasphemed among the Gentiles. And, woe unto their soul! Because they have devised an evil device against themselves, saying, Let us bind the righteous, for he is distasteful to us. Therefore they shall eat the fruit of their doings. Woe unto the wicked! Evil shall be rendered to him according to the works of his hands. Darkness called light. And again, in other words, woe unto them that draw their iniquity as with a long cord, and their transgressions as with the harness of a heifer's yoke, who say, Let his speed come near, and let the counsel of the Holy One of Israel come, that we may know it. Woe unto them that call evil good, and good evil, that put light for darkness, and darkness for light, that put bitter for sweet, and sweet for bitter. Accordingly, you displayed great zeal in publishing throughout all the land bitter and dark and unjust things against the only blameless and righteous light sent by God. Christ's words stirred their hatred. For he appeared distasteful to you when he cried among you, It is written, My house is the house of prayer, but ye have made it a den of thieves. He overthrew also the tables of the money changers in the temple, and exclaimed, Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! Because ye pay tithe of mint and rue, but do not observe the love of God and justice. Ye whited sepulchres, appearing beautiful outward, but are within full of dead men's bones. And to the scribes, Woe unto you, scribes! For ye have the keys, and ye do not enter in yourselves, and them that are entering in ye hinder, ye blind guides. Augustine. Confessions, Book VI, chapters 15 to 16. The wound of lust and the imitation he couldn't follow. My sins multiplied. When the woman I had lived with for many years was taken from me, so I could prepare for an arranged marriage, my heart, still deeply bound to her, was torn. She returned to Africa and made a vow to you, Lord, never to be with another man. She left behind the son we had together. But I, who couldn't imitate her strength, was restless. Though I claimed to seek marriage, I was really a slave to lust. Since the bride intended for me would not be available for 2 more years, I took up with another woman, not as a wife, but as a temporary partner. I didn't want to be without the pleasure I was addicted to, and so I let my habits deepen. Yet the wound from losing my first mistress still throbbed. The pain of her absence flared and then dulled, not because it healed, but because it became numb. It was the numbness of something worse, despair. The emotional bond I had with her had been torn away violently. My desire didn't stop, it simply redirected itself, finding whatever it could to maintain its grip. I did not yet understand how deep my brokenness ran. The very structure of my soul was collapsing under the weight of desire masquerading as love. The fear that held him and the nearness of God. Praise to you, fountain of mercy. As I became more miserable, you drew nearer. Your hand was always ready to lift me out of the mud, but I was unaware of it. Only one thing kept me from sinking further into my lust: fear. The fear of death and judgment, though I did not love righteousness, still held its place in my soul. Even in the midst of endless discussions with my friends Alypius and Nebridius, even when I leaned toward the philosophy of Epicurus, I couldn't shake the idea that the soul lives on after death. That belief separated me from the cold materialism of Epicurean thought, even as I clung to its celebration of pleasure. I often said, if we are immortal and can live forever in unbroken bodily pleasure, what more could we need? But I didn't see how blind I was. I couldn't grasp that true beauty and goodness are to be loved for their own sake, and can only be seen with the soul's eyes, not the body's. Even in my broken state, I needed friends. I couldn't imagine happiness without them, no matter how much pleasure I had. And they loved me for who I was, just as I loved them. Yet even that love couldn't give me rest. Only you could. You were already near, even then, offering comfort, calling out, run. I will carry you. I will lead you. And I will carry you even there. Thomas Aquinas. Summa Theologica, Part 1, Question 45, Article 1. Whether to create is to make something from nothing? Objection. It seems that creation is not the making of something from nothing, since all making involves something being brought forth from something else. Responsio. It must be said that to create is precisely to bring something into being from nothing, that is, without any pre-existing subject or material. In all other kinds of production, there is some underlying matter that receives a form, as in shaping wood into a chair. But in creation, there is no such material cause. What is brought into being comes entirely from non-being. This is why creation differs from all other forms of making. It is not a change in the strict sense, because change requires something that persists through the transition from one state to another. Creation, by contrast, brings into being the entire substance, with no pre-existing matter. Therefore, creation can be defined as the emanation of being from the first cause, without the presupposition of any prior matter. So yes, to create is to make something from nothing. That is what distinguishes creation from all other actions. A quick summa. Creation means making something where before there was absolutely nothing, no material, no subject. It's not just forming or changing, it's bringing being out of non-being. That's why true creation is from nothing.